Hi everyone, I am Cadet Emily Rowley, your Professional Development Training Officer, and this is Aircast. This week we will be discussing why we joined Air Force ROTC with Cadet Gaudino and Cadet Houston. Hi guys.
Hi, thanks for having us, Cadet Rowley. Appreciate it being on the podcast. Yeah, like you said, I'm Cadet Second Lieutenant Gaudino, and this year I'm the recruiting officer for Det 665, so that's a great position. I got Cadet Houston as my assistant in that, so it's been a great semester so far. But yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Yes, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Cadet Houston. I am a sophomore here at UC, and I am a recruiting officer assistant with Cadet Gaudino, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's get started. So the first question I have for you guys is, what made you guys decide to join ROTC?
What made me decide to join ROTC was I knew I wanted to be in the military, and I knew I wanted to do something, and I knew I didn't want to be enlisted just because my mom was in it, and she told me a bunch of stories, so I was just like, oh, what's a better way? I want to be able to lead people and, better myself. So fun fact, Cadet Samaga and we worked together at Kings Island as a lifeguard, and he told me about it, and I joined, and that's how that came to be.
That's really cool. I knew a cadet that was a year older than me, too, before I joined the program.
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit different. Ever since a young age, I always wanted to do, the military, specifically flying, because that's what I grew up wanting to do. And originally, I planned on applying for the Air Force Academy, and unfortunately didn't get into that after all that whole process of applying and then waiting for a nomination and stuff. But then after realizing ROTC was another great path to hopefully achieve my goal of flying in the military, I realized that having the best of both worlds with the college life and also the ROTC life here and there, it's just a great balance, and definitely the people as well and all the opportunities that ROTC provides. It's a great thing that I was able to join the program, and I've gone through it so far. So.
Yeah, I think those are all really great points. For me, I kind of just wanted to set myself up for kind of the career that I wanted. So what draws you guys to the Air Force over other branches?
I think what drew me the most was because my family was in the Air Force. My mom was prior enlisted, and basically she just told me that they're the smart ones. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do the hoorah kind of stuff. So I definitely thought the Air Force was better, especially looking up benefits and stuff like that. Taking the AS class really helped secure the deal, for sure.
Yeah, similar to Cadet Houston's point there, my dad, he was enlisted as well in the Air Force. He was a firefighter for 4 years. But yeah, I've always desired the Air Force over the other branches just because of how I've heard they treat their people the best, and just all the different opportunities base-wise. There's so many different locations in the world you could be stationed at. And also, like Cadet Houston said, just the benefits seemed to stand out more prominent than the other branches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I think it was honestly kind of just the flying part of it. I know all branches have pilots, but I don't really want to be a pilot. I want to be more of an engineer, and I think, the best way to kind of get to work on those developmental projects and work on kind of the best technology in aerospace is kind of to go into the Air Force. What is your guys' dream job in the Air Force?
So my dream job is either Special Forces or Force Support. Special Forces just because I've always been into the Call of Duty stuff, and I was like, man, how cool would that be to do all that fun stuff. And Force Support was something my mom did, and she did all of Desert Storm and got all those packages out there to those guys, which was super cool. I loved hearing all those stories about that, and I just thought that would be a good way to, put my name out there and help out in those kinds of ways.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's kind of a good thing that you have more than one idea, because as you know, for going into the military, you don't always get what you want. But
my mom doesn't totally agree with me on the special forces thing, but I'll try to convince her. Hopefully,
yeah, that seems a little stressful.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because they do both seem kind of like different jobs that don't really seem to correlate, but I feel like they correlate in your mind.
The force support correlates with what I'm doing in college, which is like almost like HR basically. So like talking, recruiting, stuff like that is basically what I'm doing in college. So that kind of correlates into like the force support aspect, because force support is actually many other things underneath of it. So there's many other jobs that go into force support that are very interesting. And special force is just something that I just want to do. Like, I just think it just calls to me more. I'm like, wow, like, yeah, that would be so much fun. Like, after the TPAC officers came to tell us about their jobs and stuff, I was like, that is so cool. Like, just to stand there and watch it. Like, a growler just come in and just, like, it'd just be so much cool. It was so cool.
Yeah, it does seem cool. And anyways, if you don't go special forces and you go the force support, you are really close to that mission still.
For me, dream job, like I kind of mentioned earlier, is I've always wanted to do pilot. That's my number one. But being in ROTC and like having our career days where different officers come in from a variety of different Air Force jobs or AFSCs, it kind of opened me up to the career of CISO or Combat Systems Officer. And after learning about that, like, that's definitely my number two, or like my backup, because it's still one of the rated positions. Like, you're still up in the air. So, but yeah, those are my two main jobs that I want to pursue.
So you said pilot?
Yes.
What kind of plane do you want to fly? If you could choose any plane.
If I could choose, this is a tough one. I've always been dead set on the F-22, but again, like, it keeps changing. Like, as I continue throughout the program and just hear different stories from different pilots. But I'd probably say the F-15.
So you like fighters, so
yes.
You want to be a fighter pilot?
Yes.
That's so cool.
But, like, honestly, when it comes down to it, like, I'd be happy flying whatever.
Yeah, flying is pretty cool. I don't necessarily want to be a pilot myself, but I do take flight lessons, and just flying is just so fun.
Yeah, I know. I've been a few times. I don't know who you fly with, but I've been up, I think I got like 5 hours now, but I love it every time I go up. Like, it's nothing beats it. It's a roller coaster.
And the more you learn, like, the more fun it is, because it feels like you could do it like by yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Because as a student, it kind of feels like you're not really the one flying. but then when you solo, I'm sure that's probably a huge step.
Yeah, that's a goal. I mean, my flight instructor, he's gonna get me to that point. He said, if that's what you want to do, then we'll get you there. So I'm like a fourth of the way there, but we'll see.
Yeah. For me, I've always wanted to be an astronaut. So, like I said earlier, the reason I joined Air Force ROTC was kind of to set myself up for the career I wanted. So I'm going to try to go into developmental engineering and then try to be a flight test engineer. So it's hard to get into the school to be a flight test engineer, but I'm going to give it my all. But I think that going military route is the best way to set myself up for success in chasing that career goal. Because you can do it civilian, but it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure. Having that military background will definitely help, and that comes with like anything, like in the civilian world, like having that military background, and then maybe after the service going and looking for a civilian job, like it helps so much.
Yeah, and it's not even just a resume builder. It really does like build you up as a leader in the workplace, and you kind of just know how to go in and run a work presentation, take control of a project, and you can really stand out to your superiors. What do you find most difficult being a member of AFROTC?
I think the most difficult part is just knowing that there's a cutoff between civilian life and like your ROTC life. I think the hard part is yes, you're in college, but then you also have responsibilities outside of that. You can't like be like a normal college student. You have extra work. It's kind of prepping you for your time into the actual military, which I find it now to be really nice, but when I was a freshman and I was like, wow, this is a lot more than I was expecting, like this is kind of crazy, but I think it really just built me up and like rounded me out. It's like, especially it goes into your job that you do, like if you work at like a regular job or whatever. And I just think the time management is what gets people the most. I know it was really difficult for me in the beginning, but learning that stuff now just will help you so much in your future.
Yeah, no, for me, definitely starting out was the time management, because high school, at least where I come from, they say they are prepping you for college, but in reality, as soon as you step on campus on day one, and especially having RTC as a secondary responsibility, it's definitely a challenge to figure out what works best for you, like what methods help you stay organized. And then for me, just finally finding that group of people that have the same goal or like same desires as you, like with the military and like the Air Force specifically, that helped out a ton in that sense.
Like kind of finding your group within the group.
Exactly, because I know coming to Cincinnati, there's a few friends from high school that I had here to interact with and get to know the campus with, but having that group of people that all want to serve in the military like around you, like almost every day of the week starting out, like really kind of made me feel more comfortable around everyone and like get situated.
Yeah, it's a totally different feeling. I made the worst mistake ever, rooming with people from my school. Don't ever do that. Literally the worst idea ever. But
I've only roomed with people from high school.
Well, it was just bad because I literally roomed with like my high school bullying. It was like really bad. But I mean, I like figured it out. I'm like, dude, I'm an adult. I can say what I need to say, and I stood up for myself. And I finally was like, ooh, yeah,
communication is
I'm an adult, you know. And like definitely having that, it's crazy. Like I really have made my friends for like the rest of my life in that ROTC group. Your 100 class or the people that you go through certain events and certain things that we do, it sticks with you. And like I'm still friends with people who aren't even in the ROTC program anymore, but we just had so much stuff in common. It was just so nice.
Yeah, I think that I don't necessarily get along with every single person in the wing, but there are really a big group of people that I just really find really supportive, and they're definitely my friends for life, like you said. For me, I think, like you guys said, the time management, it's really difficult. For me at least, because I'm in 21 credit hours this semester, and it's week 2, and well, we're recording this during week 2, but I was up till 4 a.m. last night doing MATLAB code, and I was up till 4 a.m. Wednesday night doing Python code, so it's going to be hard to try to figure all of this out. I slept till like 11, so but yeah, it's going to be hard. And you don't even just have your job and your classes and your meetings, but you also have to do a lot of studying and reading and researching, and you know, it's really the time that you want to put into it, but how much time you put into it correlates to how well you do. So you have to really define that balance, and that's something that I found really difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And like kind of touching on your point of having a job, like specifically in the wing, like as you start out as a GMC, your main focus other than school is to learn like your basic warrior knowledge, how to wear the uniform, and just getting used to the program and like everyday life and finding what works best for you. But as soon as you bridge that gap after field training typically in between your sophomore and junior year, and you transition into the POC, I mean you obtain a bunch more responsibilities within the wing, and like you're expected to lead the GMC as a POC, which is what they prepare you for in your 200 year. But just having more responsibility and obviously more schoolwork as you progress through college, like it definitely is it's a big challenge at times. But yeah, like you said, as much of the time you put into it is how much you're going to get out of it in the end.
And that kind of goes for almost anything you do in life. Has there been a time when you felt that you might not make it through the program?
Yes. Unfortunately, I was one of the unlucky cadets who had to go through a lot of waiver remedials and stuff because of DOTMR. Literally, Dovner is crazy, and it took 9 months for me to get approved. So I didn't even know if I was still in the program my sophomore year, going into FTP, studying for the AFOQT. Like, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to take that stuff, and it like really puts you down in the dumps when having so meaningless like eczema. Like I have a cream or whatever that I used for my eczema when I was a child, like 5 years of age, and they're like, yeah, like you can't have that. And it's like, what? how I didn't even know. That's just something my mom did, when I was younger. So it definitely sucks, and I had to get pulled in the room with Lieutenant Colonel Schonkweiler, and he basically told me what was going to happen, and it was like he basically gave me the option to drop out now and maybe do OTS later, or we can fight it, but they're not confident that they'll give me the waivers. But you know what? I never backed down from a challenge, so I never gave up. I shoved every piece of paper I could possibly find in my mom's drawers, from the doctor's office, the dermatologist, anything. I just shoved in their face, and thank goodness for Sergeant Corlett. She saved my life, and we were able to get everything in, and I was cleared, which was amazing. But because of all of that, it kind of burnt me out, because it was so much, and it was during COVID, so imagine like how much longer and how much time I had to wait. So I didn't prepare well for the things I'm doing now, but I told myself, and I knew I have to come out strong, because there's some people who didn't even get this far. So I just know in my heart, and I know like the people who aren't in it anymore. I gotta do it for them, because if I'm able to get this far,
it's really all about luck. And but for you though, you did make a choice which turned out to be positive in your favor, because positive. You decided to stay, even though every single thing that you had to do for the program could be for nothing.
Yes.
So I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. I'm proud of myself. I'm just so glad that's out of the way. It was so stressful. I mean, I like, the good thing is Sergeant Corlett and I are really good friends now, so we talked a lot. But yeah, it was just a challenge, and it's just a burden that everyone has to go through in order to even be in ROTC. Like, DOTMR is a thing that everyone has to go through, and it's unfortunate, but I'm just glad that I got it out of the way. So now the only thing I worry about is FTP. Yeah,
one of my good friends, you remember Caroline Baines, she was medically disqualified, and it was just so sad, because she wanted it more than anyone.
So sad.
Yeah, no, touching on that, especially starting out freshman year as an AS100, and then having all those other cadets that start out in the program, and then just see them like slowly disappear or quickly because of medical disqualifications. It's kind of sad, but
yeah, we just had someone on our flight drop from
DOTMR. It was crazy. At my class when I started out, I think we had like 60 or 50, and now we only have 18.
Yeah,
which is like mind-boggling.
Yeah, slowly dwindles. Was there a time that was hard for you in the program?
Yeah, I'd say, unfortunately, but I'd say this fall going into sophomore year was tough for me. I was going through a lot with like family stuff, and then my girlfriend at the time, like, we were just going through a lot of stuff, like relationship issues, and then unfortunately, like, it kind of ended badly, and that kind of tore me down, and like I lost like a lot of motivation to just like do schoolwork and show up to ROTC with energy and motivation to do my best. So like it definitely took a toll on me at that point, and there was a few nights where I was like, I don't know if I should even continue with school or with RTC. I'd rather just kind of get out and go be a firefighter like my dad, but luckily I didn't, and that was because of our cadre, specifically Major Henderson at the time. I just went in and talked to him about it, and he was very supportive and gave me a bunch of great advice on how to like overcome that, and that definitely propelled me into kind of facing what I was dealing with and then get out of it. So yeah, cadre really helped in that regard, and then also just having, we touched on it before, but having like that good foundation of friends. RTC as a whole is just a big like family. You may not get along with everyone, but like the people you do get along with, like you build some really, really strong relationships with, and having that really kind of helped me get out of my little dark area there, but yeah, there was definitely that time where I was like, I don't know if I want to stay in the program, but I'm still here today, so I got through it. But.
Yeah, I had a really tough time like that too. It was my spring semester of my first year, and I was just having a hard time with the simplest things, like customs and courtesies even. It's just like the easiest thing, and I was just having a hard time just, uttering out a confident phrase. I was nervous to go to the detachment. I was nervous to go to PT. I was nervous to go do GLPs. I was just always stressed out about stuff, and I just felt like I maybe just didn't fit in or like belong with everyone. But then I was offered a scholarship, and it was really hard to make that decision. And I had also gone to the eye doctor, and I found out that I had amblyopia, which is like a depth perception kind of eye disorder. And so like I failed my eye exam for my DOD-MERB, so I was disqualified from rated, and there was a lot of things I kind of felt like it was pointing me to leave, but ultimately I decided to take the scholarship. And at that point, that's when I decided to just stop having one foot out the door and jump headfirst into the water. And it is kind of like just a decision. You don't realize that maybe you're the person that was holding you back in the first place. But like you were saying earlier, like that kind of purgatory period when I just wasn't sure what to do, I just felt really down.
Yeah, it was definitely really difficult. Like that kind of stuff, like when you get to that dark place, it is rough to come out of that. But I know that so many people believed in me, and the people who I'm still friends with, like Cadet McFadden, or previously Cadet McFadden, she got DQ'd because of certain things, but her and I are still really good friends because of this program. Like she was the first person I ever met. It was like a really good experience, but like you said, like it is really rough to get disqualified, or like just waivers and like doing extra stuff that don't even involve like the program right now. It just
doing things like even when you don't know what the purpose is. That's
how I felt. Like I was like, why am I even doing this? Like I don't even know if I'm gonna be here or not.
And yours was more of kind of out of your hands, but for me it was more like I just didn't know because I just couldn't make the decision yet. It was hard for me to decide.
Really, but I'm glad you're still here.
I am too. I really hit the ground running my fall semester afterwards, and I've really tried to make the most out of the program since. So, what is your favorite thing about AFROTC?
The family aspect. I came from a really small school, Deer Park, down in Blue Ash, and I graduated with a class of 102 people. So you know that everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows every little gossip, little thing about each other, So I really loved coming to ROTC to find out that it was like basically the exact same thing. Like, okay, like even though our detachment is considered a large detachment, we're not really that big when you think about it, because I actually know a lot of people. I might not know them like fully and stuff, but I know who they are. I know their name. I know where like they're coming from. I know what their job is, and I just love that. And I love that we have friends, we have groups that we can go into. I know that Cadet Gaudino and we played flag football, some funny moments there, and that whole experience was just so nice and comforting to know that I'm not have to dread to going from college to ROTC. I'm actually able to have fun and, oh yeah, let's hang out, let's study together, or do you want to go grab dinner? Like, yes, I want to go grab, that kind of feeling just made me feel more at home and made me feel like I had a family / friend, almost like brothers and sisters, basically. It was really nice.
Yeah, for me, definitely the family aspect for sure. I can agree with that more. Just, during like the dark times, like during midterms and finals when you're studying, it gets lonely and stuff, and just to have those friends you can lean on to help you study, or just, hey, you want to go grab like coffee or dinner, like you said, Cadet Houston. It really makes the most of it. And then like just all the opportunities that Air Force ROTC has that are extra. I know I was able to go on a trip to Hill Air Force Base for Ops Air Force in the summer after freshman year, and that gave me a lot of insight into what active duty Air Force was all about, and that kind of exposed me to different career fields. So, and those are classified as PDTs, or professional development training. The Air Force opened those up all the time in the summer for cadets to participate in. I know this semester with COVID, like it's a lot of it's virtual, but just having those extra opportunities to kind of see what the Air Force is all about outside of what we're taught in like AS class or leadership laboratory. And then the other cool thing that we do here at Det 665 is we try to interact with other detachments in the region, like Battle of Ohio at Ohio
So
State.
much fun.
All the competition and like the rivalry between us and like Ohio State and some of the other detachments is really exciting, and hopefully we can get back to that sometime soon.
Yeah, I really loved going to Battle of Ohio. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, and because everyone's like all pumped up, and
it's like you have this like that team spirit like you did when you were in high school. I mean, I know we're all at UC, but it's a lot bigger of a community. But our AFROTC community, it's
definitely,
it's very tight knit.
It was Battle of Ohio was by far one of the best experiences I've ever had. Like not even in like the college aspect, but like everything. We went to Ohio University, and we went there, and there's almost every detachment in the northeast region where we're at was there, and it was so interesting to see like what they do and like how are they getting trained, like their people who are in charge. It was just so nice to see, because it was basically like who's the strongest, like come on, it's like who's fit, and obviously we won, but
obviously
but yeah, it was just a good time. Like it was just like that perfect like get your anger out and that kind of moment, like it just reminded me of like soccer and stuff, because I oh my gosh, I did not like soccer when I was in high school. I was like defense, so they always put me in the weight room, and it was just like it was so sad. And then but when I went out to go play, it was like, all right, I'm gonna get all my anger out and let it go, and that's basically what I did when we went to Battle of Ohio. I just let it all go and had a great time, and it was just so nice, because I think we were like the biggest detachment there. I think we had like the biggest cheer squad I've ever seen.
And I'm not even a competitive person. I don't just enjoy being competitive for the sake of it, but I had just the most fun, yelling out to the other teams.
It was so much fun. It was so good.
Yeah. I agree with you guys, though. The team spirit and the wingmen, that's something that's I really am happy with my experience here in AFROTC. But another thing that I'm really happy about is kind of the opportunity to grow my leadership skills. And I know it's scary, and you get your heart pumping when you get thrown into a leadership position on the fly, but it really does help you build those decision-making skills, and you are more confident the next time going around, or like when you're coming up with a plan for your flight or something, just to like be efficient about something, or making sure you guys meet deadlines. Just it's really helped me be confident with being the first one to offer up a plan, and being open to input from other people. It's kind of just taught me half the battle is just getting started, and once you get your team started and get ideas flowing and kind of give them a basis, like your team's really gonna fall in suit, and they're gonna help you out. But it does take that leadership spirit to get the ball rolling, I guess.
Yeah, and then the one point you touched on was the input from other people, and that's a big part of R2C that I really like. And it's always positive feedback or like criticism from whoever's like supervising or evaluating like your leadership performance, or if it's like a cadre member in like an eval. But that just really helps you kind of like learn from your mistakes, and honestly learn what you're doing well, so that way you can continue to build with that, or build at that skill, and just kind of continue on that way. But yeah, the feedback and the input from other people around the cadet wing is very helpful for growing your leadership skills.
Yeah, and it's pertinent when you're on a team. If you're the only one throwing out ideas and you're the leader, but it just makes your team so so not as strong as it could be, because everybody has their own ideas and their own perspective, and it takes everyone to come up with the best plan possible for you guys.
There's no I in team.
Exactly. What is something about yourself that you feel has improved because of AFROTC?
I think, like we were talking about before, leadership. I work a lot, and I'm like in like different environments. So like I'm like a trainer for some people, or if I'm at home, I'm a sister for my little brother. But when it comes to like AFROTC, that leadership that I never knew about, or like even knew how to contribute to it, kind of. I never knew how to really work a leadership role before until AFROTC, and it just feels so nice because now I feel so much more confident in myself in giving my opinion and saying like, well, what if we did this? Or how about we do this way real fast? Or like, how about let's just risk it and let's just all go and do it together? And I think that is just something that you can't, it's something that you it's not like really given to you. It's not like sometimes some people are just naturally born leaders, right, but sometimes you have to grow it, and I feel like the program really helps you grow that, because you're going to be put into some very awkward situations where you're like, wow, what do we do? But it's like it grows your perspective more, because when you get into, when we're hopefully lieutenants one day, and we're going to have to use that because we're going to be in charge of people who have been there a little bit longer than us, or who just don't really know. And same with the civilian aspect. Like if I'm doing my job as a leader to someone and training them on how to do something properly, like how am I going to be able to do that for them to understand and follow me and know that me as a leader, I will always like make sure that you'll be successful. And I just think that the ROTC aspect really helped with that, right, especially like for me.
Yeah, and learning how to be a leader in leadership positions, it really helps you just be a more confident person in general, even when you don't have to be the leader. Yeah. It helps you kind of go through life in a more deliberate and like efficient way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, definitely have improved like in a bunch of different aspects since like entering college. I know from high school, the only leadership experience I really had was like a few extracurricular groups I was part of, but mainly I was captain of the hockey team, and like it wasn't nearly anything that I have experienced in AFROTC just because of the military aspect. But one thing you guys kind of touched on was being put in those like awkward situations or uncomfortable situations where we're standing in front of like a whole group where we're like talking, we have to like brief a plan to a bunch of people. Wasn't really my thing, and going into college, I hate public speaking, but since entering the program, definitely my public speaking skills, just because like as an officer you're expected to be like a good public speaker and step up in front of a whole room and brief a plan and stuff, and that has definitely grown just with practice and repetition. But definitely my communication skills too. I've held a few positions within the wing now where writing emails and making sure they're clear and concise with all the information and all the deadlines are there. Like that's a big one that I've improved upon. And then just like communicating plans, like being able to speak and like get to the point there really has developed. And then lastly, the professional aspect too, just like having that military background and the way we're taught here at Det 665, and we're in the uniform and our customs and courtesies, and just the way we interact with other adults or other students has definitely improved. And I'm so thankful for AFROTC for providing me that opportunity to grow in all those different areas.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really helpful for us as, early college students.
Yeah.
That professionalism and learning how to be disciplined and how to, be respectful yet actually hold your ground against someone who is your superior.
Yeah, I definitely had those similar experiences, especially since I'm a business manager. We're in a lot of group projects, and I'm actually the first person to ever say anything, because like for me, especially being in ROTC, we have deadlines, so I'm gonna get it done now so we can have time to clean it up later and like fix things and make it more organized. So I'm always the first person to like respond, like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and then how about who wants to do this, you know, like, and I think that's important because now that I'm able to do that, I'm not as scared anymore. Like if I was in high school doing like a project, I'm like, okay, like
yeah,
what
you're
would
a
you
little
want to do?
less worried about what people think about it, or
it's
how
like,
people feel about it, and
so
you're
much
more
more
focused
confident.
on the mission.
Yeah, I'm so much more confident in like my opinions, you know, because it's good to have an opinion, either if it be good or bad. It's good to have one, and it's also good to just like say it because it's not going to hurt if you try.
Yeah, and you know, once it's out there, then you have people who can put their input in it as well, and you can make your whole idea better.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree though with what you were saying earlier, Cadet Gaudino, about improving on, you know, public speaking. Even though I still feel like super nervous to give a brief, anytime I'm giving a brief, like I just gave a brief at Lead Lab, I'm able to more control myself, even though I still have all those nerves, and, you know, kind of keep a brave face on and keep my pace at a good pace. That's something that I would always do, is I would always give my presentation faster than how I practiced it, because when I went up and did it in front of a crowd, I was not thinking about my pace anymore. I was just thinking about remembering what I was going to say.
Yeah, and getting through all of it quickly.
Yeah, and AFROTC has really taught me how to do both. Think about and recall what I was going to say while saying it in a clear pace, you know, not rushing it, and making sure that, you know, not only what you're saying is clear and important, but how you're delivering it is clear. And, you know, it's really infuriating when you give those briefs to your class, and then at the end, you know, everyone's just raising their hand telling you, oh, you looked up when you were thinking, or you said here, or you didn't use your time hack when you started your clock. And it is just so annoying, because you know that they're doing the same exact things, but at the end of the day, it really just makes you better. And it's hard to see that, you know, from brief to brief, but looking back at how I briefed when I was 100 and how I'm briefing now, I think that, you know, everything that has happened has only helped me.
Yeah, definitely. And with the briefing part, like I said, going into college, like that was one thing I hated and dreaded doing, was public speaking and getting up there, and to the point where I'd want to like run out of the room and just like never come back again. But yeah, ROTC, they've definitely ingrained in us, especially going through GMC years and now as POC, to like kind of do that multitasking up in your brain, like while you're briefing, and making sure you're good on time, like your pace is good, your voice sounds good, and that like. And
you're also using your body language.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, the improvement from day one, just being in the program, is like, it's like exponential. It's crazy.
Especially like watching your classmates grow, because it's not like you can't slide away. You're gonna eventually give a brief or a talking paper, you know, and you're gonna have to do it. And like seeing like everyone go through it, you can just see how much has improved them as a cadet and just as a person in general, because in your classes and everything, you're gonna have to be someone that's gonna have to stand up at least one time and like say something, or if you know an answer, just like being confident in yourself. And I think that really helps boost people's like confidence in the program too, because they're like, all right, I can do this. It's not as hard as you think. It's just a little nerve-wracking, but you know.
Right, and if you think you're going to be the person that never briefs at Lead Lab,
good luck.
You're wrong, because they will literally look through like their list of people they can pick from and be like, who hasn't briefed at Lead Lab? They're going to give you the opportunity whether you want it or not.
Yes.
And, you know, after that opportunity has passed, you're going to be grateful that you had it.
Very grateful.
What are some things that have changed about AFROTC because of COVID?
Everything. I mean, where to start? I mean, it's unfortunate, like COVID, it really hurt so many experiences that unfortunately our 100s and our 200s aren't going to be able to really get to know like our previous people have. But I think that AFROTC and the Air Force and the military in general, they just did so well transitioning everyone into that COVID way. I really didn't think that we were going to do anything, but we actually did a lot more than I thought. Like, we were able to do lead labs. We had AS class. We were able to do GLPs and honor boards. That was crazy. I didn't think that we would be able to achieve that, but we definitely were able to, which was really nice because you can tell that our detachment 665, like we really do have our stuff together and we know what we need to have done in order to give people that opportunity to keep staying in the program and actually have them feel like, oh, I did pick the right detachment to do this at, because we are actually helping people learn. Like, it might be frustrating at times because of COVID, like we're all online, so it's really hard, like people's classes, schoolwork is a lot more than it was if we were in person, and there's just more things that are added to it. But I definitely think that we did the best as our ability that we could have in order to keep going at it, especially since Cadet Gaudino and I and Cadet Rowley, we are all in FTP, so that is something I was really surprised at how they were going to do it, and I think they're definitely doing a really good job making me and everyone else feel like, okay, like I'm confident that we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I do hope that we get to do some in-person stuff, which it looks like we're going to be able to starting out these next couple of weeks. But it is kind of nice for me though, because I have been off for a year, so being online has kind of helped me dip my toes in the water a little bit. But I do really, really want to get that in-person experience. So I hope we get that. But I know that if it turns sideways and we just do online, I know that they're still going to prepare us to the best of their ability, and we're not going to be the only ones at field training that don't know what we're doing. We're hopefully be some of the ones that can help other people.
I mean, honestly, everything has changed since COVID dropped the ball on us last spring. But I mean, it comes down to like the cadre's work and our wing staff, or both wing staffs, for like, and I guess everyone else on the org chart for just like doing their jobs and being creative and coming up with new ways that we can interact with one another and meet our objectives and have some fun at it while we're doing it too. But hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll be back to in person like as much as possible. I know everyone's hoping and saying maybe next fall we'll be back to fully in person, but honestly that's up in the air still. But I feel bad for the 100s because they didn't have an interaction or like an experience that I did and some other cadets had with like not being in person, because like getting to know your fellow classmates is a big priority, and just having just other in-person opportunities such as lead lab and AS class and being around the detachment really helps you kind of get into the groove as a freshman, and they just unfortunately didn't have like that full experience. Right. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks and like next fall they can kind of get back into it.
Yeah, like you guys said, I think that cadre and wing staff and the 400s and some of the 300s have done a lot and been very creative with making the best out of difficult situation. But you do really lose a lot of that culture that you get. As a 100, it was just so shocking coming in, and lead lab, I was just like, I don't know how to raise my hand, I don't know how to answer questions, hopefully nobody calls me out or anything. I just want to figure out what's going on. You have to call the room, you have to make sure you're greeting every person.
It's that switch that's so important that they're missing, and unfortunately it might be hard for them to click it in, but I think honestly
but they're gonna need to
because I know like it's hard. They're stuck on the online aspect, and that switch of like I think like being too friendly with people, it's not there. Like when we're in like the detachment or at lead lab and on a computer aspect, it's like I'm not like, what's up Houston, it's Cadet Houston now, like you gotta switch it over. And I think they'll be okay. I think that I feel like they've actually gotten really close with each other. A lot of the 100s have like been doing a lot of group events with each other, which I think is really cool that they're doing. So it's just going to be very different, for sure.
Yeah, And, you know, this online environment, you know, back when we were in person, it always felt more informal anyways. I could, you know, just call them by their last name without, you know, the cadet, or, you know, if I knew them more, I could even call them by their first name and text them and just ask them questions, you know, informally and casually. But, and then, like, if you were in person, you know, at the detachment, then that's when you really had to be locked on.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've had to kind of make that locked on environment online, so you're kind of changing the setting, and it's a little bit difficult to be clear, but I think that, it'll definitely be shocking when we get back, but it's shocking for everyone.
Our first leave lab is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm honestly really excited, even though we're going to probably be yelled at nonstop.
I'm so nervous for our PT on Tuesday. I'm like, I'm preparing.
Oh my gosh, I'm probably
procedures and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay.
I am so not prepared. I need to work out more, but we all do probably a little bit. Me probably more than others.
For some reason I decided to go on a run yesterday. It was 32 degrees outside, and I was like,
I've been going on runs and had to wear like earmuffs so my ears didn't fall off.
My fingers were gone by the time I came back home.
What are some of the things you share with people who are interested in joining the military or AFROTC?
So, share as in like tell people, or like,
you know, I asked this question because you guys are the recruiting officers, but you know, I mean, I've never been the recruiting officer, and I've kind of sold the program, you know, we all kind of have, and it's just like, what do you share with people when they come to you and they ask you, you know, I'm thinking about joining ROTC, or I'm thinking about, you know, maybe going enlisted or joining Navy or Army, and they're asking you like about the program?
I kind of usually just kind of express to them like what our day-to-day and our weekly like commitment is, and whether it's talking about like our PT routine, getting up early in the mornings, and then leadership lab where we do like GLPs, and where we just kind of like train and develop our leadership and kind of get like our customs and courtesies down in that way. Like we practice drill, and we just do a bunch of like team building exercises, and we learn a lot too about like active duty, whether it's through guest speakers or past alumni or other officers on active duty, but yeah, just kind of expressing to them like how much benefit there is to our weekly routine and like what we do day to day, and just kind of explaining how in the end you grow so much. Starting out, I didn't know anything about the military. I had an idea, but I didn't really know what it entailed, but starting out, you're learning all this new information, and you have great mentors and great upperclassmen that really like kind of show you the ropes. Kind of going back to that team aspect, AFROTC, at least at 665, we have a great mentality of having mentorship and reaching out and having the upperclassmen take care of the underclassmen and kind of get them into the groove of things is very helpful in that sense. And then, but by the end, you've grown so much, and I mean, they're going to do the job of prepping you to be a second lieutenant and go off into the big blue as an officer. But yeah, like daily routine, and then kind of what it entails with like school and how to balance that is one thing that I like to kind of discuss with anybody who's interested, and just kind of picking their brains and seeing what they want to do and what they want to get out of it.
Yeah, and see if you can, you know, offer any type of insight into, you know, how that might play out for them if they do decide to join.
Yeah, what Gardenia was saying, like when I talk to people, I like to ask them what their why is. Like, so like why are you so interested? Like, I'm just curious because, you know, like what my why was like, I just want to become something that's bigger than myself. I want to be there for a person. Like, I want to be someone's shoulder that they can lean on, because that's just how I am. That's how I grew up and stuff. And it, like, the military just like gives that so much more for you. And I always like to ask them, like, why do you decide? Like, okay, what would you like to do in the program? Like, are you interested in doing other things in, like, your career? Like, is it because, you know, college, money, like, you know, stuff like that? I like to ask them those questions because I feel like a lot of people don't know, like, when, especially with some of the people I've been talking to right now, like, they don't even really have a reason. They're just like, I just heard about it and it just sounds like a great time because, like, the people I talk to, like, I actually know them and we went to school together, and they're like, yeah, you just talk so good about it and you, like, post really cool things. I'm like, well, I mean, it is. That's, like, exactly what I said it was. But definitely that family friend aspect, because I feel like a lot of people who come to UC are, like, people are from, like, tinier schools, so they like that, I mean, like, community. Because I'm from a small school, you're from a small school, I think Cadet Godino's from a tiny school too. So I think, like, having that family, like, close relationship aspect is something that really draws people in.
Yeah,
and I
it's
love,
something
like,
that they all value.
Yeah, I love telling them about my experiences, like AAS or, like, the BOO or doing flag football and Cadet Godino getting tackled by a random dude. Like, I mean, there were so many things. There's just so many experiences that are just so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think when people have asked me about my experience in ROTC because they're interested themselves, I always make sure that I, you know, tell them, okay, well, you're going to have PT, you're going to have lead lab, you're going to have flights, you're going to have this and this, and these are all your responsibilities. But then I say, but these are all your opportunities, and you have to decide, you know, do the opportunities outweigh, you know, all of the responsibility and work you're going to have to do? And that's a question that only they can answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. It's the opportunities in AFROTC are endless. Like, as long as, like, if you were truly interested in finding every single opportunity, like, available, you could. Cadre have so much insight into different things you could take part in. I mean, AFROTC as a whole, though, they provide, I feel like, monthly, like, emails are sending out of, like, new things that are coming up, whether it's in the summer, like, going on in the semester. But yeah, the opportunities are endless, and they definitely outweigh, like, the weekly and daily responsibilities,
right,
as a cadet.
And they have to, if you're going to be a successful cadet, because, you know, you have to find that motivation and energy somewhere. And you know, for me, I find all my energy in the, you know, idea that I am going to be able to reap all of these rewards.
Yeah, and those opportunities and, like, the end goal of commissioning as a second lieutenant in the Air Force is what gets me up every day at 5 to go to PT. Like, just thinking of that, like, quick.
You always have to have your sights far in the future, and that's how you find your own inspiration.
Yeah, I'm looking for retirement already. Like, waking up to go.
Right. What has been the greatest lesson you've learned as an AFROTC cadet?
I think the greatest lesson I've learned is you're never alone. Like, we're always together no matter what. There's no I in team. It literally is teamwork makes the dream work. Because if you're not doing the teamwork, then you're just by yourself, not looking like you're like trying to take control. So I think just, like, having that and being able to utilize that is just, it's so cool to, like, have that there and be able to do that, because it's just like, wow, we're doing this together. Like, isn't that crazy to just think about? Like, so many people are so determined, like, since you and I are in a flight together, like, we are all so dedicated. Like, we'll get things done on time and make sure everyone's accountable.
Yeah, and we're making sure everyone has their stuff done. You know, it's not just about are you making your deadline? You know, that's not good enough. It's that, is your team making your deadline?
So important.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest lesson that I've learned being in ROTC is just, like, being comfortable being uncomfortable is what they preach to us. And no matter what situation is thrown at you, or what, like, no matter how awkward or how stressful it is, that you should just put all your effort and just take it on head on and learn from it. If you, like, how you perform at it, just take every opportunity and learn from it, no matter how stressful or uncomfortable it is. Like, and having that confidence to take on anything like that, like, really helps you deal with outside, like, life, like, outside of RTC. little quote from Rocky Balboa, nothing hits harder than life. Like, that's facts. Like,
Facts.
Like, there's definitely been
Right.
times in a lot of people in lives of people I know, and mine especially, where, like, it just isn't going for you. Like, it's a dark patch, and just having that confidence, like, hey, like, I'm gonna get through it, is, like, one of the big things I've learned so far. But,
Yeah, that's really important lesson to learn. For me, I think that kind of like what you said, Cadet Houston, having that team, but also having like those specific wingmen. I started out and I was struggling, and I thought the best way to succeed and get through this struggle was to put all my energy and focus into myself and building myself up. And for me, that kind of meant that I wasn't going to really focus on helping other people, because I thought I just needed to help myself, because I thought that that's how I would succeed. But once I started reaching out to people, I would get text messages in the morning, like for PT, like, hey, are you up? Or like, helping me out with like, okay, well, what's the uniform of the day? Or what are you guys kind of doing for this homework assignment? And after I was kind of receiving a lot of help in that way, I realized that I could help people in areas where I was strong, like warrior knowledge or like uniform wear or something like that, and it wasn't taking anything away from me. Okay, so last question. What's your favorite quote, and can you explain it?
My favorite quote is from the Bruce Lee himself, and it says, "As you think, so shall you become." So it's like almost like manifesting it for yourself. So the more you think about it, the more that you want it, the more you're gonna strive for it, it will come to you and you will get there. Because like I used to read that quote all the time going through Dotmer, because the more I think about it, the more I want, like, do I really want this? Because you're gonna get to the point in time where you're like you were saying, and like what Cadet Gaudino was saying, like, just get to a dark place. You're like, do I even want to be here anymore? Like, is it even worth all this stress? And thinking about my sophomore self, like looking at the AFROTC site, and was like, yeah, I want this. I was like, I can't like give up on my dream and my future, because I'm someone who like writes everything down. So like I knew what I wanted to do like my sophomore year. I was like, yes, I'm gonna go here, do this, and then be a lieutenant. So that was just like, I can't give up on my dream just because it got a little rough in the road, because it's never gonna not go your way. So it was just gotta do it.
Yeah, so kind of like making sure that you keep your intentions, on the bigger picture, and make sure that you're not, letting your thoughts go to dark places.
And other people's thoughts too, because there's a lot. My family, as in like my aunts and uncles, some of them are very hippie-like, so they don't really believe in all of like the war aspect and stuff like that, and like. They'll just tell you to quit, don't do it. Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? I'm like, you don't know that. No one does. So I can't give up on my dream just because someone's telling me something in the background.
Yeah. It's a good lesson.
Very good.
So my favorite quote comes from the infamous field training manual, or like some people refer to it, the FTM. And it is, leadership is willing to do what you ask others to do. And this is from former Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Kalitho Wright. And I always keep this quote in the back of my mind, especially now going through FTP for the second time, and then kind of just thinking about it going into field training this summer, and kind of how that affects my decision-making process. And like, depending on what situation I'm faced with, especially like when you're in charge, or even just as a follower, and say you're making a suggestion to your leader or flight commander at the time, is just like, would you be comfortable putting your flight or your fellow teammates in a situation, and would you be uncomfortable going through it with them? And that's just a big thing they preach to us, is just like, make sure you put your team first, like your people before the mission sometimes. But sometimes that can get convoluted, and maybe it's the other way around, but mostly keep your people in mind all the time, and make sure you're taking care of them, because that's definitely a major priority.
Right. And when you take care of your people, your mission is going to usually hit. fall in place.
Yes, and having the trust of your followers, and that they trust you with your decision making and know they're going to be safe at all times is big in just like productivity of the group too. Like if they don't trust you as a leader, you're not going to go anywhere. Like, and it'll just be a standstill. But yeah, I'd say that's my favorite quote, and I always keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today about, why you guys joined AFROTC and, the best things that have came out of AFROTC, and even talking about, the difficult times as well.
Yeah, thank you, Cadet Rally. I appreciate it. Look forward to more episodes, and I'd love to be back on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, thank you so much, Cadet Rally. It was definitely a really great experience. I hope to be back on as well, and I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, I'm excited to give you guys some more. Okay, Aircats. Well, remember to fly, fight, and win, and I will catch you next time on Aircast.